Give me. Indulge that, okay?
Of course.
Thank you.
Okay.
I don't blame you.
Did she see it alive?
With the American Express Gold Card, every day is golden. Dine on incredible cuisine.
Which one of us is that?
Oh, you turned on the
Got it, Ruben. I got it.
Okay, you ready?
You got it, man. It's already there.
Oh.
Good job, dude.
Oh, thank you. I'm sorry. Greg, I had a long night, so forgive me. I was editing some
No,
programs.
that's it.
I apologize.
Okay, I'm doing all the shares.
Okay. It freezes on me. I didn't turn off.
Okay, Mr. Rubin. Show number 248.
Okay, here we go. Hold tight.
Okay.
And take it, Greg.
Welcome, everyone. It's 6:13 on Monday night, and you're listening to the 248th installment of the Age Out Angels Radio Hour, right here on www.hamiltonradio.net, Channel 2. I'm your host, Greg Rapport. If you're new to the show, I'm the founder and executive director of Age Out Angels. We provide one-to-one mentors to help vulnerable youth for the purpose of coordinating the care and services that they need to thrive. We try to help young people avoid some of the horrible pitfalls that they're likely to face when they don't have a proper safety net. This program is brought to you every week at the same time, courtesy of the fine people here at Hamilton Radio who allow us to use this airtime. Ruben is on the big board tonight. Robin is producing. So good to have both of you with me, as always. And so good to have you listening from your computers, in your cars, in New Jersey, around the country and beyond. Now, if you're would you take a moment, please, if you're looking at us on Facebook or on YouTube, hit the buttons for me. We need you to like and subscribe and share. This is no matter where you are listening to this show in the country. What you're going to hear tonight is relevant to everyone in your world. And in fact, that's the purpose of this show tonight, is to create a relevancy that spans geographic regions. So please, 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 we need you to do this. We need you to spread the word, because you know what? You know you're not going to hear about this on the nightly news tonight, right? You know it. You know it. So tonight, we're it's like a happy one tonight, I think. We're talking solutions tonight, right? My guest is LYNN TONINI. She's the founder and executive director of the Aging Out Institute. I'm going to introduce her to you in just a second. For want of a better phrase, all I could think of all day when I was thinking about this was LYNN built a better mousetrap. She figured out a way to do it that no one else had in the past. And we're going to talk with her in just a minute. I need to just take a moment, though, and just down for a second, because it's my absolute and utter frustration with the way children, and I'll say children ages 16, 17, 18 to 21, fall through the cracks. And it's just so not fair, and yet it happens all the time. And if you listen to the hype, you'll hear things like, we never turn anyone down. Well, guess what? It's hard, in my experience, to get turned up. Getting turned down is easy. That happens everywhere. It happens every place. You need to get a little bit of help. Are you pregnant? No. Oh, man, then we can't help you. And then somebody goes, well, you're not pregnant? Oh, if only you were pregnant, then we could help you. If only you were a drug addict, then we could help you. You hear things that I'm sorry, am I doing the Scream picture? Is that what I'm imitating? Because that's what I feel right now. I feel like that. It is so frustrating. So if you're trying to do the work that we're trying to do, and that's basically, offer a hand and lift people up. How is an 18-year-old, okay? How is an 18-year-old who has been to so many different schools, he really has fifth grade math skills, all right? How is that child who faces homelessness now at the age of 18, how is that child supposed to have the bandwidth to learn, like enough algebra to get his GED? How's that supposed to happen? Like, can you see that happening? Could you see, if you're listening to this show, could you put yourself in that position for just a minute? Could you see yourself doing that? So I don't, maybe we'll find out an answer tonight. I'm sorry. I know this was supposed to be a happy show, but I'm really frustrated right now. And there are things like housing that are just so huge. There's a difference between having a place to live and not having a place to live. It's a very clear line. There's no in the middle, I'm on a couch, I'm on this, I'm on that, because they get thrown out of couches every day. Whoever thinks they have a place to live and it's a couch is wrong. So, that's not a thing. It's a very clear line, and there should not be children who are homeless. There just shouldn't. And there's not supposed to be. I think that's the part that gets me. Ask anybody, go to government, ask anybody. There's supposed to be laws that say, this has to happen. And look, I know lots of times, first of all, DCP&P doesn't have it easy, and because they're overloaded completely. And also, look, man, The kids don't make it easy. You know, they don't. They run away. You do things. They don't do things. They're kids. They're kids. Who's supposed to be? Well, I think that's what the job of the ancillary, organizations like Age Out Angels and stuff like that is to be there to do that. To be the surrogate mom or dad or something and help and fill out this application. But it doesn't matter, because if someone's going to be homeless 2 days from now, fill out this application are not comforting words. That's not something that makes anyone feel better, and nothing's going to happen in the next 2 or 3 days. So I don't know. That's all I have to say about it. I'm sorry that I wasted your time. I want to talk to my guest, LYNN TONINI. Welcome back. You were on once before.
I was. It's been a while, though.
Oh, it's so good to see you.
Thank you. You too.
We were talking before the show. Lynn started the Aging Out Institute in 2010, and I started Age Out Angels in 2015, and we sort of grew in parallel ways.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Along the way, and then I guess it was during the pandemic when we both sort of blossomed in this. And can you talk a little bit about that part of the Aging Out Institute's growth?
Sure, absolutely. Well, up until that point, really what we had been doing was primarily our database, which is an online resource collection for those who work with young people aging out of foster care, or even the young people themselves trying to find programs that support young people anywhere in the country. So I had the database, and we had started the awards program, but it was just a pat on the back, right, and recognition on a website. It's a peer-judged awards program for organizations that are doing great things to help young people aging out. But I tell you, we were probably among the most fortunate nonprofits, because a foundation just stumbled across our website and said, hey, we love this mission. We want to support you. So they actually helped get the official 501c3 designation for AOI, and we kind of took off with their support and funding. We were able to add a monetary prize to the awards program and continue growing other services, other programs like our podcast series that we have. We started that in the pandemic, and I know we'll get to it, our online community. We've just started to really upgrade.
Absolutely, and I have to be honest with the audience. I think you're way too modest. I think stumbling into it is just way too modest, because you had spent years before that. You had spent 5 years before that building a database. So what was the mission that they fell in love with? Tell me what your mission is now.
Well, officially, what AOI does is it promotes resources and strategies that help individuals and organizations support youth aging out of foster care. So we really want to be a conduit for best practices, for resources, for research, for each other, so that we can collaborate and make better decisions to impact the outcomes for these youth.
Yeah, and so in order to do this, and in order to galvanize what I have always derided as a fragmented, non-communicative group of do-gooders, group of really nice people.
Yes.
But who just look like F troops so often because of our, how many can we all serve? Seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Can I serve 300 people? I don't think so right now.
Right.
No. So 430,000 kids in foster care. Right?
That's a good point. I mean, there are very small nonprofits that serve 2-3 youth.
Yeah.
And then you have the very large ones that can support hundreds. But more nonprofits in this country are small. And we're geographically dispersed, to your point. And just to know who's out there is a challenge.
Yeah. So I mean, this is relatively new. How many members are in the community right now?
Well, we started in 2022, we did a launch on a platform. If folks who are familiar with Microsoft Teams, if you're a nonprofit, you can request Microsoft 365 be donated to your nonprofit. So we did that. And we were able to get Microsoft 365 donated. So we had this platform that was free. So we're like, okay, let's try it. Let's just put it out there, and we'll connect with our network, the organizations that know about us, and see who might be interested in coming together. And we, on that old platform, we got 75 organizations to join in a year. And so I was very excited about those numbers. However, the platform itself, nothing against Microsoft, but the teams, what you had to go through as a guest to come into the community. In other words, none of these folks who were joining were part of Aging Out Institute and had our email address, right? So if they had our email address, it would be easy. But since they were guests, there were so many hoops to jump through, and it was complicated to actually even get into the platform. And I know the ones who got in really valued it and appreciated it. But we decided, you know what? This isn't working. We need to find something better and more user-friendly. So in January, we just launched a new community. We brought our 75 plus organizations over. We're in the process of, getting everybody transitioned and activating their new accounts in the new platform. And we already have some really good things posted. We brought over a lot of the resources that were shared from the old community. So we're just really excited this year to get this new community and take it to a whole new level.
Yeah. And actually, I want to dive a little deeper into it, but in just a second, because a question came in about, I want to make sure that I distinguish between the Aging Out Institute, the company that you founded, and Age Out Angels, the company that I founded, because they just sound so similar.
Yes.
Okay. We do serve, in many ways, the same community. That's true. But I want the audience to understand these are two very different companies. Lynn is the founder and executive director of the Aging Out Institute, and she has created this, may I call it Facebook-like? I
think that's fair.
Okay, because that'll give people a context by which they could just understand it. Mm-hmm. It's a Facebook-like methodology, and there are different sort of groups you can join within that community. So if you are running a nonprofit and your main focus is education, you can join the education group, and in that group have discussion with all of the other people who run nonprofits, right? Who have an interest in that topic. Mm-hmm. Which, by the way, is a phenomenal topic, because we're talking when you get into education there, you're talking about lifelong learning education. Mm-hmm. You're not talking about K to 8 or 9 to 12. You're talking about the whole lifelong learning process. It's really right. Really very fascinating. So you can get into good discussions and learn a lot of stuff. Do you remember, off the top of your head, do you know all of the groups that are available?
Well, I don't know them off the top of my head, but I could probably name several of them. I know that we have education and employment and housing, and mentoring, relationships. Yeah. That's one. Pregnancy and parenting support, legal support, financial competency, trauma-informed care. Trying to think, I know there are more than that, but just to give you an idea, there are several relevant topics, and just running a nonprofit as well, right? For those individuals who are in that role, there's sharing and resource sharing going on about how to run your nonprofit.
That's right. In fact, I remember a particular event where a person was actually requesting that everyone just sort of get on a web call. We did a Zoom call, right, with somebody who was a very sort of small startup kind of thing, and they were like, "How can I serve?" I think it was 3 people. Mm-hmm. They had
to start
their program, right? Yes. Yeah, 3 people to start. They wanted to do it right.
That's right. Mm-hmm. I think that's one of the really great things that we started just this past year were our community chats, which is what you're referencing. Mm-hmm. So about twice a month, we schedule a meeting for members to come together and have a conversation about a topic. Maybe it's a presentation with that conversation. So, for example, coming up on Friday, we have the individual who's one of the leaders of the National CASA GAL organization. She's coming in to share about what they do to support older foster youth through their organization around the country, and I'm sure there'll be a great conversation when she's done with her presentation. But we also have invited new nonprofits who aren't necessarily members, but we want to give them a little bit of a hand in getting started. And so we've called a few of these meetings where we bring in the new nonprofit and we invite other members to join, just to brainstorm and share ideas with this individual as to how to get off the ground, depending on what their services are, as housing, employment, education, whatever it is they want to do with the youth. And I found those to be really helpful as far as helping new nonprofits connect with organizations that are more established.
Yeah. When you started, did you feel like alone for a while there?
I did. In fact, the reason I started the database, I myself aged out of foster care when I was 18. So it's a passion of mine.
Yeah.
But I worked at Milton Hershey School for about 14 years, and that's a school in Pennsylvania. It's a K through 12 residential school for youth who are at risk. And I worked there for 14 years, and then I left for different career reasons. I still love the school. And I was trying to find something to fill that void of assisting and helping youth with my skill set. And so I started the database. And here I am rambling on. I lost track of the question. But I started the database in order to stay connected with young people. And so I'm sorry, can you repeat the question? I want to make sure I'm answering it. Isn't that silly? I rambled.
No, that's that's okay, Lynn. I was actually going online to the community. We were talking about the different things that are offered, the groups that are offered in the community.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I mean, the groups that I'm in are apparently pregnancy and parenting. I don't know. I might have a lot to learn.
You can, if it really doesn't fit your skill set and what you do, you can actually remove yourself from that group if you really want to.
Okay, but I mean, serious stuff like trauma-informed care. It's actually kind of amazing to me how many organizations will bring volunteers in and not give them a trauma-informed training. You
Right.
know?
That's true. Yeah, that it is so important. Yeah, I just pulled it up. Oh, life skills is another one. Measuring success. Are you having an impact on the young people you serve? And wellness. So that's physical wellness, emotional, psychological wellness, and even spiritual wellness for those organizations that do that kind of support.
And what's committees?
Committees.
It's just I'm just doing all the links now.
Oh, committees, that is really just something that AOI has not engaged in yet because we don't have any committees. So, for example, if we decided to have a committee of members work on a particular project, we could pull together a committee for that, but we're not actually using that yet. Right.
So I mean, basically what we have here is a kind of Facebook type resource that people from all over the country, I would presume all over the world, right?
Yes, I mean, right now we're really only in English, but the issues that young people face leaving some kind of state care are the same, no matter what country you're in, at least what I have found in the research I've done.
So talk to me now. You must be watching all this stuff go by. I get to see a very small portion of it. So what's happening?
In other countries?
No, in like, you know, what are the trends that you're seeing, like getting discussed in the community? What are the trends in education, the trends in trauma-informed? Well, the
trauma-informed care group is new to this new platform. So we haven't really had enough information shared for there to be trends. But housing it's really around the strategies, what people seem to be sharing in the community, or what are they doing as part of their housing program, if it's transitional housing or whatever the case may be. And so they might share documents they use, checklists, guides, things to help young people move in, some kind of checklist for that. And so that a lot of individuals within these groups are just helping each other out.
Yeah.
Because there's just so much information out there, but we're so segmented that people have like, hey, we've got this great checklist that we use to help young people set up a new apartment. We're teaching them about housing and how to get their own place. And we've got this great checklist. And then they share it on the platform. And then there's conversation around that. But we've also posed certain questions to the community, like what are your biggest challenges?
Yeah. So
right. I'm sorry?
What are they saying?
There are differences, of course, in the challenges that are being faced, but one of the housing challenges is just really the affordability. And how do you help young people be able to find a place to live when even having a roommate, it's so expensive, and they have to find a job at the same time to be able to afford the housing, and they have to have some kind of network, right? Some kind of support system. So mentors or connections with their own family, they have to have those built up. So it really is a lot of conversation around what do you do to make sure that all of these things are aligned, right, in the young person's life, so that they can keep a job, maintain a job, so that they can afford housing. And then under each of those, they're sharing ideas about how to do that.
So that's what I was screaming about in the beginning of the show. It's like everybody's got the same problems, I have a feeling. We have a situation where a child can get $500 a month for housing, and a room, a closet costs $700 a month.
Right.
All right. Okay. So here's what happens to the kid. They can also get maybe $100 or so a month for food, and maybe another whatever $100 or so maybe for clothing and incidentals. Right. So now their food money and most of their clothing and incidentals money gets spent on the rent. They got enough money to eat for maybe a week. Also, they're knuckleheads. They DoorDash.
Right. Or buy toys, electronics.
I'm so sorry, brother. I owe you a DoorDash. I know. I mean, that was so wrong of me, but it's true. Kids will take like their last $25 and order a DoorDash. So then what's supposed to happen after that?
Right.
It just doesn't. It doesn't make sense in any way. It doesn't add up into then what all the goals of all the programs are, which is self-sufficiency. Right? It can't leap that way. Like you said, things have to be coordinated.
Yeah, it's self-sufficiency and accountability. In fact, our last community chat was a really interesting conversation about how do you balance accountability and empathy. So you have a young person who has an apartment, they're part of a program, right? And they're learning how to manage money, but maybe not doing so well. But this one organization which prompted this conversation gave them, they have a fund to help young people meet those needs should they arise. But this was happening month after month. And so the nonprofit is like, well, at what point, can you really hold this young person accountable before it just becomes a habit? And so we're having a really good conversation with ideas about, how you balance empathy, because you want to take care of the young person, but if you take care of them too much, you're enabling them to stay there. You're not enabling them to move on and be self-sufficient. So it's a matter of, I think, having that line drawn for your organization as to what are you willing to do, and then communicating very clearly with the young person what those consequences might be if they continue, and then providing resources for them should they continue to make those poor choices, and helping them like, well, unfortunately we can't continue, and it happens. It's sad, but it happens where a nonprofit has to say, you're really not doing what you need to do. We're going to need to, you can't be part of the program anymore. But we have these other resources that we can connect you with that can help you out, so that we can maintain that network of support for these young people so they don't become homeless. But there is an accountability aspect to it too. It's tough.
I know. It's we err. Age out angels. We err on the side of love. So
yeah.
So there, the kid screwed up. He's not ready. Maybe he's not grown up enough yet,
and that might be the case, right?
Whatever it happens to be. I mean, they're all so different. You have you have a girl who's 16 who runs away half the time or something. You have a boy who's 20.
Yeah.
You look at the boy who's 20, certainly as though he should be more mature than the girl who is 16. But I'm many times, I guess maybe it's also the children that I meet, right? Who have just been through a lot.
Yeah.
Right. So the first thing that I notice in many of the children is they don't sleep at night. Did that come up in your conversations of
I don't want to say that it hasn't. I don't recall it off the top of my head of that being a trend, but it wouldn't surprise me.
I mean, it's the anxiety, right?
Yeah.
Their head, the lights go out, their head hits the pillow, the demons come out in their brains, and they don't sleep. It's as simple as that. I think, I wouldn't be at all surprised if like 9 times out of 10, they at that moment is when they go to self-medicating a little weed or something like that, to just try to get to fall asleep or or something. But so I sort of start thinking about it there. If a kid is if a boy is 19, 20, 21 years old, I can't get him up until 11:30, right? He should be up, but he's grown. He's mostly grown. He doesn't need that extra 2 hours of sleep in the morning, like when you're 14 or 15. He should be starting to get up. He should be starting to look ahead to what's the executive functioning steps to get a car. Right? I mean, come on, the car's the driving force there, right?
No pun intended. Driving force.
Right. A car, an apartment, right? Those are things. But
each young person's individual, right? So that young man, maybe, I mean, if his rhythm, what they call it, circadian rhythm or whatever it is truly at a different time than the rest of us, I'm being generous, then maybe it's a matter of having conversation about a second shift job, a third shift job. Maybe it would suit his rhythms better, but it's individual. You have to figure out, is the young person is he ignoring what he's supposed to be doing? Is he gaming a system? Or is he depressed? You have to figure out what's going on with that individual young person and then come up with a game plan accordingly.
Yeah. So were you talking like agencies that actually provide the housing?
Some do in our community. Yeah.
I think that's remarkable. I mean, that just blows me away. People who actually provide the housing.
Yeah. Oh, and there's so many different kinds. There are organizations that will build apartments right on their own property, right? Or they lease houses or apartments in the community, or they build tiny home communities, right? There's some of that as well. Yeah. So there are quite a few out there that do that kind of work, which I agree. It's different than coming to agreement with landlords, right? In the community. That's also wonderful, but it's not their own property.
Right. And each one, like in that situation, each room is a whole different legal transaction. And where insurance, all things can go bad so quickly, when you get involved in that. And so, it's so necessary, but so hard
Hmm.
to actually do. I think, the companies that do that are absolutely amazing. I wonder if, like, sometimes those boards of directors are maybe people who are involved in the housing market in some way or other, zoning or something in that local area, so that they know it.
There are a couple that have those types of partnerships, and then there's I know there's an organization that started just because their grandparents had land, right? And the land wasn't being used, and they made the decision to find funding and build tiny homes on this land. So there are all sorts of different organizations out.
Where is that where they build tiny homes?
Oh, I'd have to look that one up. I apologize that
Oh.
it's not coming to my head, the name of the organization. It should be, but there are a few of those out there. There's actually an organization in California that works with young people to build their own tiny home on wheels, and then they get agreements from landowners in the community to park that, which is legal in California, to park that on their land. And so they have a place to live. And then the young person owns the tiny home. They walk away with the key after they help build it. How about that?
Yeah. It's fantastic. Now, you are always working specifically with the organizations that serve the youth, right?
Yes.
You're like, youth don't go to the Aging Out Institute for any database information and things like that.
They could go to the database.
Are there youth who are members?
No. This is the AOI community is for organizations or individuals, right? It doesn't have to be an organization. Anybody who works with young people aging out of foster care, foster parents, social workers. I think social work students interested in child welfare would benefit a lot from being part of the community. Psychologists, psychiatrists, teachers, people who work in child welfare agencies, or even politicians, right? So we really focused on the initial group of people in the community being from organizations, but that's one of the things we want to do is expand the roles that people have coming into the community, so that I think that cross-functional collaboration is going to be so valuable.
Right. Your organizations that you knew from all the years of building, you did.
Yeah.
Launched it, but yes, I mean, so I mean, what we have to do, if you're listening to this, everyone, you need to tell people about this, because if we could really spread the word, the only thing that will happen is people will benefit. I mean, that's really the bottom line here. All you do is, you hit the share or whatever. Lynn, what should people do? How do people share this information now?
Well, the community is on our website. So it's agingoutinstitute.org/AOI-community. So you would go to that site, and you could look through the information there, and there is a join button. And you can also see who the members are, the other member organizations, if you have an interest in that. But you could share that link with other people, other organizations that you know who you think might benefit from participating in these conversations. I think that would be wonderful, and I would so appreciate it if people would share that link.
I'm really, like, more specifically, if you know anyone who is college student, social worker, that sort of thing, this would be wonderful for them. I mean, they would be in gonna be social worker heaven.
It's true. And I tell you what, think about the young people coming out of social work programs. If they have the ability to have conversations with people who are running these organizations, it's going to provide them a much broader depth of knowledge before they start working with these youth.
Oh, totally.
And that can only help.
You won't be talking to your peers. You'd be talking to, like, executive directors of companies, and I guess it's possible the directors is sort of as low as it goes in those chats.
I think we have some program directors in there as well.
Well, program directors, exactly. Exactly. So, I mean, if you're coming at this from, a student angle and you just couldn't find a better resource,
Hmm.
if you're coming at this from a new business, a
Hmm.
new startup kind of
Oh my goodness, yes.
thing, then I think there's like a tremendous benefit in a totally different way.
Hmm.
Certainly the discussions and everything else will be
Right,
part of it, but you'll be more a part of those discussions because you'll be living it day
right.
to day. Uh, but
Exactly,
but
exactly.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was
Take
just going to say, what a way to try to prevent yourself from recreating the wheel,
yes. My
right?
word. Yes. I was going to say that.
So many organizations, and they all do wonderful things. They start a program and they're doing great things, but just think if they had that network so they can get great ideas and forms and guides and manuals and things like that from each other. Why would they wouldn't have to start from scratch and build everything. They can borrow from other members and get really effective that much faster.
Yep. Yep. And when you start out, you know this is true. You waste so much time reinventing forms, right? Reinventing the wheel is the same thing.
Hmm.
Because you feel like when you're starting out, you feel like you need to have a form for everything. And that
Right.
way, any question, you'll have a form for that.
Hmm.
Right? And it takes,
Exactly.
right, it takes several years and working with it to know the 2 or maybe 3 forms you need
Hmm.
and to try to keep it to a minimum. You don't need 30. But if you're starting out and you feel like you need all that stuff, you
Yes.
can go. There are people who will share that stuff with you.
Hmm.
There are like sample intake forms
Hmm.
and sample contracts if your agency wants to have a contract. Everyone has to do it differently. Can I tell you, Lynn, I think the one thing that stands out of over all the other things that I've seen there is to just understand the differences in the different people, the different agencies, the different regions,
Hmm.
how people who start agencies come at it from a different place. You were, aged out of foster care. I was once in kinship care,
Hmm.
different, just sort of different things, different backgrounds and different perspectives. So
Yes.
in a way, that fragmentation is actually kind of cool
Hmm.
because it has that mosaic, you know,
Right.
of
Right.
background.
Oh, yeah. We have
But
lawyers that have started
yeah,
organizations. You have social workers. You have teachers. You have people who had nothing to do with child welfare, who
chocolate
just
magnet,
felt very strongly about doing something.
magnates.
Good example. He and his wife could not have children, which is why he started the school.
Yeah. Yeah. So
So,
all different
hmm.
walks, and you get to have that sort of melting pot of information. So what
Hmm.
happens when you get in these discussions, which I think is like really the good part about it, is you don't necessarily arrive at what's the right, but you have a shot at getting what's right for you.
Hmm.
You know?
It's a tough thing when you hear the term best practice
Right.
because the work that is done with these young people is so individualized.
Yes.
It's really hard to come out with this is the right way to do it. I think you need to tap into if other people have had similar situations with young people with similar issues or challenges, maybe, and personalities. If you can find those people and have that kind of conversation, then you're going to get close to what's the right answer, potentially. But I don't think there is really a right answer.
I agree. Yeah, there really isn't. But
Hmm.
if you can get together and kind of learn them all,
Yeah, then you'd have a
then,
toolkit,
right, and
right?
then you can pick and choose and
To
work.
exactly. The other thing I'll call out is that our database has what I believe to be the largest collection of research that's focused on young people aging out of foster care. I'm not saying we did the research, but we've found it and we've compiled it in our database. So if you just go and you click on the research option in the search form and click submit, you'll get all of the research with the dates at the start. The reason I bring that up is that's often where you find the term best practice, right, is in the research.
Uh-huh.
I really am a big believer in evidence-based programming evidence-based strategies.
Okay.
So I also encourage people, not only learn from each other, but learn from the research.
Yeah, there are people who do actually go about these things in scientific ways.
It's true.
Well, I mean, because we all think we know so much because we do know our own personal experience, right?
Sure.
We know, what our cohort, for lack of a better term, we know what our kids are like.
Yes.
And all right. So now once again, give them the URL to go to find you.
Sure. It's agingoutinstitute.org. On that page, you'll see our menu where you could get to the podcast, the database, the community, excuse me. And then from there, you can click the community link. That's probably the easiest thing to do. Click the community link and you'll have information about the community and you'll be able to see the other members in the community as well.
Absolutely. Please.
And the awards program too. I'll just throw that out because we have our awards program every year. So if you've been serving young people aging out for over 3 years, then you're eligible to apply for an award. And we give out $400,000 a year to about 7 different organizations.
Wow.
It's peer judged, which is what I love about it. You have the winners from one year then become the judges the following year. That's how we do it.
Yeah, that's outstanding. Wow, Lynn. Goodness gracious. Since 2010, it's 14 years.
I know, it's hard to believe. It's so hard to believe. I'm not sure of the time we have left, but I would love to read a quote or two from our community members.
Oh, why don't you?
If that's all right.
We take all the time you want.
Oh, my goodness. I appreciate that. Well, we do an annual survey, and we got the results back from our 2023 survey, and we just asked, how have you benefited from AOI? What has happened with you? And we got a couple of wonderful responses, and it was an anonymous survey, so I don't have the actual organizations who said this, but for example, just knowing there's a whole community that cares about youth aging out of foster care gives me great joy. That was one of them.
Right.
Sharing ideas and resources through the chats, those chats I told you we have twice a month, has been fantastic. I love networking and learning about additional resources and how we can work together for maximum effectiveness. And here's another one from a new organization. Well, they're not new, but their program is new. Our transitional program is new to our organization and in its beginning phases. We have appreciated the information and knowledge shared on forums, specifically other program structures. Right, so they're getting ideas on how to structure their new program. Yeah. And a couple more here. Hand to Paw, which is an organization in Philadelphia, they hire young people aging out of foster care to work in an animal shelter. Okay. And so they teach them skills and mentor them and so forth. But Hand to Paw very much enjoyed the community discussions we were able to attend this year and learned a lot from the presenters. And one more, let's see. I think the thing we have found most helpful is a sense of community it brings and helps us see the larger group we are a part of in this work, not just in our local community setting. It's also reaffirming because many of the things we are doing, we have found others are doing as well. It helps confirm that we're working with best practices as best we can. So we just had some really wonderful feedback from our community members about their experience.
Yeah. And you know what? You took the words right out of my mouth with that last one, because I was going to say that if you are a very established nonprofit and feeling pretty good about your station in the NP world, then we really need you. I mean, come on. Mm-hmm. You need to offer that hand up to the other companies. And also the last thing that you said, it really doesn't hurt, no matter how big time you think you are. It doesn't hurt to have that little extra validation and hear somebody else's point of view, because especially like when you're the executive director, not everybody always just says, hey, you should be looking at this a different way.
Yeah.
But most of the time people just say, oh yeah, boss, you're so right. Come out here and you may find someone who just has a different opinion that you haven't thought of. So,
or a really maybe new, unique, creative approach.
Yeah.
that you hadn't thought of before.
Absolutely. So whatever stage you're in, I mean, seriously, from student to just starting a nonprofit or fully established and with plenty of forms that you can share with everyone. I hope that the AOI community becomes the big galvanizing force that brings everyone together. I really do, Lynn. I hope next year and the year after we come back and you do this and we have more members and more people and more successes.
I appreciate that.
So
I'm hoping it becomes big as well, not just for Aging Out Institute, of course, but for the young people. Because ultimately, I think the larger a community we can have that are sharing and supporting and collaborating with each other, it's only going to benefit the young people in the end.
We do have a couple of minutes, Lynn, and there's a question came up now about you mentioned the awards and you mentioned $400,000.
Did that get somebody's attention?
And apparently folks would like to know more about tapping into that 400,000.
Oh, I appreciate that. So our awards program is run every year, and we try to run it over the summer. We had it at the beginning of the year, and that ran into budgeting for nonprofits and things like that. So we run it over the summer, meaning that the organizations that are applying will apply in June and July typically. And then the judges who, like I said, were the winners from the previous year, they will judge the applications using criteria that we've established over the years. And they come up with a score, and then they collaborate. It's teams of judges. It's not just one. So there will be 2 judges for every category, and they'll decide who the winner should be. So you have to be having had served young people aging out of foster care for 3 years, and it could be an organization, and that's all you do, right? So you apply for your organization, but it could be a program within an organization, say a program at a university that helps young people aging out of foster care be successful at the university. So that's a program within a university. You can apply as well. So you would fill out the application. You have a couple months to do it, and then they judge. And in the fall, we announce the winners and distribute the money that they have won. And it's the best day of my year is calling the winners and telling them that they have won their category. And the categories are very simply small organization, mid to large size organization, and youth impact.
Okay, so
small organization is anywhere from 0 even to 10 employees. We go by employees, full-time or part-time. So we consider that a small organization. Most of the applicants are small organizations. Then we have the mid to large size, which is 11 plus. So if you have 11 plus staff employees, then you would submit there. We used to do this by like housing. We had a housing award. We had an education award. We were trying to highlight the organizations that did great things in those certain areas of service. But we found that the large organizations were always winning, right? And which is great. They're doing wonderful things, but we didn't just want to send awards to the big organizations. We wanted to give small organizations a chance. So you can submit for whatever area of service you have, education, housing, mentoring, whatever. Even if it's just one thing, even if it's just life skills, right? And you're teaching them some kind of life skill, you can apply. And you just explain it. It's a pretty straightforward application. You just explain what you do, and we have some prompts that help you hit all of the areas that we're looking for. So and youth impact is the organization that explains, one, has the best measurable impact on youth, that they have a very clear metric or metrics that show that they're having a positive impact on young people, and a really clear and solid measurement process. So it's a combination of the two. So we believe, and that's the largest award, that's $90,000, because we believe that is so important to be able to track what you're doing. Even though some of the impacts are tough to measure, we know the importance of being able to measure that and to follow the young people and see how they're doing after they leave your program even. So that's the youth impact is the largest award winning as far as the money is concerned.
Yeah, wow, that is absolutely remarkable, and I hope people will rewind that part of the tape and hear it over and over again, so they can figure out a way to help some young people, and tap into such a wonderful resource. Lynn, let's not make it be years until
I know, right?
right?
Well, you're in the community, so I know I'll see you there at least.
You know where you can find me. I threaten when we're out in Western Pennsylvania that I will buy you a meal, but it's always like I'm always driving through there in the middle of the night. And I don't think you want a meal at 4 o'clock in the morning.
You don't know me though. I will always eat.
So perhaps one day. Thank you again so much. Boys and girls, that's all the time we have tonight. I am going to tell you something about us, though, that will change in the upcoming months. We've done 248 shows here at Hamilton Radio and on YouTube, and it's been wonderful. And we're not going to stop, okay? But I have to slow down just a little bit, kids. So we're going to switch from a weekly show. We've been doing about 40 shows a year for several years. We're going to switch to a monthly. So once a month, we're going to be doing a big spectacular Age Out Angels radio hour. And to kick that off, the next show is going to be on March 11th, same time, Monday night, same program time. And it is going to absolutely blow your mind. My guest is a gentleman by the name of Stephen Reed, and he is an expert on teaching English to people who lack literacy in their original language. So this is not straight up English as a second language, because that assumes a certain understanding of the primary language that a person comes from, right? In this instance, how do you teach English to, sort of I'm going to say a young adult learner between the ages of, say, 16 and 24? How do you teach that person who may not have ever gone to school properly in their home area? And it is just fascinating. I can tell you why I've had the training, and I can tell you that that's the reason I wanted to bring it to you. So I'll see you March 11th. Let's make a date to do that. Lynn, I'm going to see you again next year. Will you tell me how the the AOI community will have grown? I'll see the rest of you on March 11th. Thanks to our producer, Robin. Thanks to our engineer, Ruben. Music provided by Mozart. I don't know why he works for us. He must need the money. Stay safe, everyone. Until next time, remember, it's only Monday. There's plenty of time to make this week the best week ever. Good night, everyone. Lynn, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Thank you.
This is like a Zoom, so it ends abruptly.
Okay.